And welcome back to Sports Vision. We are joined by the Central High School the state championship Central High School head coach, Jamie DuBose. Welcome to the show.
Well, good to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Coach, I've been looking at your schedule, but I really want to just give you your congratulations on winning the state championship. Did a great thing for this whole city, and I think people appreciate you a whole lot more now.
Well, it was a great thing, but, first of all, there were a lot of people that go in to win a championship. It wasn't about me or one individual person, and, it was a complete effort from the administration of the school, the teachers. A lot of people forget the teachers. The teachers play a really important role in what they do, and the band was instrumental, the cheerleaders, and then, of course, our fans. I've learned to love the fan base here. You got to love a place where there's passion, and in Phenix City, there's passion. Central High School has a great tradition, and somebody asked me one time, when you go 10-2 and you get knocked out in the state, the semifinals, and people are upset, does that bother you? No, that makes me excited. I'd hate to know I was somewhere where they don't demand winning, and I want the community to still, have high standards. It's like our players. We talk to them every day about, winning it. The goals don't change. It's just a different goal this year to get there and win it again, called repeat. So we're excited about the opportunity and looking forward to the year.
Well, you mentioned that key word, repeat. And everybody's talking about it, Everybody's seeing the players that you have, the development of the players, the 7-on-7 that you do. Talk to us about some of the keys of Central repeating.
Well, the key thing is getting back and getting hungry again. Last year's team had that hunger of wanting to win it, wanting to succeed, and we got to handle adversity as a unit. We had to handle it last year in the semifinals. I go back to the semifinal game. We were down 14 in the second half to a Robert E. Lee team that we had beat handily earlier in the year, and just wasn't playing very well. And our guys really pulled together and found a way to win in the end. So we got to find a way to get the unit to play as one. We've got to, overcome obstacles during the year. We don't know what those obstacles are right now. No team does. But, we're going to have some adversity set in some way. It may be injuries. It may be something during the year. You don't know, but you got to handle it. It could be weather. We've had, hurricanes in the past roll through, and teams have to handle it in situations. So, whatever comes up this year, we've got to try to be able to handle it positively and overcome it. Last year's team did an outstanding job of doing it. And, we haven't had a whole lot of adversity over the last couple of years playing from behind. That's what we've been talking about in the weight room. This morning we talked about 4 quarters, and we really stressed the fourth quarter because our season is more difficult this year at the beginning than it's ever been. We play 2 teams that are state champion type teams right at the beginning, and we may face adversity quick. So if we do, it's going to be exciting to see how we handle it, and that's why I did that. That's why I gave us these 2 tough games, because I want our team to know early, what we're going to do in tough situations, because that way, however we react to it, we still got a whole year to overcome it and to get better. And that's why, you see the Alabamas, the LSUs, the Georgias, the Tennessee, whoever it is playing big games early, is they're trying to find out where their team is and put them in those tough, critical situations in neutral areas. That's where we're playing both games are going to be in neutral sites, just as a state championship game. So, we're looking forward to that.
I looked at your schedule, open up with Hoover. You play Cedar Grove, like you said, a team in the Cam Newton tournament that you do every year. Then you got Prattville and Opelika. First 4 games. Mm-hmm. What's wrong, Jamie?
Well, I tell you what, I don't know. Maybe I'm checking myself out, but I'm excited about it. We've done this. I've done this before, and our team. It's the first 2 games. You don't like to say it don't matter. It doesn't matter to getting into the playoffs. It matters to us, our pride. It matters to our season, what we're trying to accomplish. We won the state championship, and as a coach, you're always trying to shoot for new goals. Well, this year we've got a preseason national ranking. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to tell our guys we're competing nationally. We want to win the state championship. We've got certain goals set out. It's always to go undefeated. Region champs. It's to win East Alabama and to win the state championship. Well, now we've tagged on where we're going to stand nationally. We want to finish top 10 nationally, and that's what we're shooting for right now. Where we fit into there, I don't know. But to be top 10 nationally, we've got to win these 2 big big games early. We've got to put ourselves in position to do that at the end. But winning these 2 games early will put us in that. And I love it. Our guys are already excited about it. We've been talking about it in the offseason. The Cedar Grove game's big Alabama, Georgia. That's what we love when we can play an out-of-state team in Alabama, Florida or whatever it is, So we're excited about that. And then Hoover, they're the only team in state to beat us over the last few years. They beat us 2 years ago at the Champions Challenge. First game of the year, we had a long rain delay, and they beat us 23-7 in that game. So we felt like we were 7-7 at half, and we felt like we come out after the rain delay and just didn't handle it very well and was flat. So we're excited to go back and try to redeem ourselves in that situation.
Well, Coach, I have a cousin that lives in New Haven, Connecticut. He calls every year. He's a Central graduate. He always say, well, how's Central going to be this year? Well, I always tell him, I said, man, Central's going to be good. And, really, they got players galore. But I said one of the biggest things about them is that you're going to hear about these players. You just don't know their names right now. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about some of the players to watch on your team.
Well, you got your guarantees. E.J. Williams is going to be great outside. Tucker Melton, I'm anxious to see how he's going to handle the starting role. Trey Miles is a new name at quarterback. He's going to be that second guy at quarterback. I'm going to play too. If you're at Central and you can play, you're going to play. He's going to get a lot of playing time, and he's a great quarterback too. That's a new name. Zion Morris behind Joseph McKay. Everybody knows Joseph McKay. Yeah. He's a beast, and very excited he's a part of our team. But behind him is Zion Morris and Dexter Wright, 2 running backs that, we're one running back system, but you can ask any running back coach, you're going to have 2 to 3 of them to be able to compete at the level we're going to compete at. So, they're going to take a pounding during the year. Robert Marsh is a name that's kind of been around, but, man, he's been our leader in the offseason. He is a dynamite firecracker of a 5'7" guy. He may be the best 5'7" guy in the country, I like to say.
Wow.
But he's exciting to watch. And, Trey Alexander, Peter Parrish outside. Not Peter Parrish. I wish we had him back. He's gone. Peter Jakes outside, but Peter Jakes is going to be an unbelievable outside wide receiver. Jackson Meeks. Up front, you got the 2 big ones. You got Josh Jones and Javion Cohen, but Mason Cook, a new guy in for us that's got about 12, 13 off for 6'4", 280. Good-looking kid. Like him a lot. Correll Daniel and a young sophomore. I've only had 3 sophomores play for me as a coach, and I've only had 2 O-linemen. This is the second one. Francisca Rancico or something like that. I wish I could. So we call him Francis. But he's an outstanding sophomore offensive lineman, going to be real special. Excited to see him. On defense, you got P.J. Ramsey, who is back with us, Mike Harris, who's back with us. Terrell Gordon's going to be a great safety back there in the secondary that joined us. We're kind of at corner. We're wondering right now. We got a kind of a by committee session going on, so we don't have good competition going on right now, but we're working toward that. Jaden Richardson at linebacker. Up front, you got B.J. Randolph, you got Vontavious Maddox, you got Byron Jenkins. There's just a ton of names. We're going to play a lot of people. When people come watch us play, we roll 9 D linemen. To win at the level we're going to play, you got to have a lot of D linemen. So we play 9 in the course of a game. In the state championship, I think it was 9 to 10, and we're going to play a lot of them again. So our strength of our team is built on our D line and O line. That's where our strength is this year. We've got a lot of guys. And then, of course, on offense, we return 8 guys. Defensively, we return 6. So we got hurt in the secondary a little bit, but we got a lot of talent, and we're excited to see what we got happening back there.
Well, Coach, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, your staff.
Oh, God.
Talk to us a little bit about your coaching staff.
Man, I tell you, I'm very fortunate. We've got a really good staff. We lost a couple of guys to head coaching and coordinator jobs. That always happens when you got some good guys. Everybody comes after them, and I'm all about those guys going on and bettering themselves. So, we lost a few, but we replaced them with some really good ones. Mark Hurts, our defensive coordinator, man, he does an outstanding job of getting them ready each and every week. Just happy to have him be a part of us and what the job he does. And then on offense, we got Ryan Nelson, who's a young guy that does just a great job over on the offensive side. We've been one of the top offenses and defenses in the state of Alabama for the last 4 or 5 years, and we expect that every year, that high, lofty expectation. Offensively, at wide receiver, Zach Berkland and Justin Albert, 2 great young guys out there. Keith Wicker, an old head that's been around for about 25, 26 years. He's coached a lot of people through Phoenix City. He's at the running back position. Matt Bell and Trip Duke on the O-line, and on defense, we've got the defensive line. We added Demetrius Jackson, who was the head coach at Linden High School, who played for the 2A state championship right behind us last year. So we were able to go out and hire a defensive line coach in Ewan to come in to replace Brandon Hall, who went on to a DC job. And then we got Adrian Lyles and Hayden Stockton, both former defensive coordinators. Brian Eason, another former defensive coordinator at safety. Norbert Sullivan over helping with the corners with Mark Hurd. And we're blessed and excited. Hunter Powell coaches our D-line and our kickers. As I called off all those names, it takes an army, man. When we got an army, we've got 141 right now, 10 through 12. That's right now on the roster, ready to go and doing what they're supposed to do every day. And it takes guys to coach them to be able to do that because we're high rep, high intensity, and our administration. My hat's off to our board and everybody who gives us the opportunity to have the guys out there to coach them.
All right. Well, thanks, Coach. We appreciate your time. And Central High School head football coach Jamie Dubose. We'll be right back. This is Sports Visions.
Smoke in the sky and fire in the air. Desire burns between them. Lead your way, sing your song. Moving every day, going further on.
No matter who you cheer for, we're all fans. Great tailgates start at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price every day.
Should planning your travel be more stressful than staying at home? Of course not. Here at Lumpkin Travel, our VIP service makes traveling easy and fun.
Girls Trip!
We've helped serve thousands of people and families experience their dream vacation by taking the hassle out of travel.
Thank you.
We book your flight, reserve your hotel, and make sure you have a stress-free vacation so you can enjoy every moment of it.
Thank you.
We even help you choose different activities that you're guaranteed to enjoy. And the best part is, we find you the best price at no extra charge for you. Actually, 95% of customers save money and time by booking with Lumpkin Travel. So start thinking about your dream vacation. Wherever you want to go, whatever you want to do, we'll make it happen for you. As easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today or log on and set up your vacation of a lifetime with Lumpkin Travel, your travel agent for life.
Welcome back to Sports Visions. Joining me right now is the two-time SEC Player of the Year and the #1 pick for the Boston Celtics at the 22nd spot. Grant Williams, how are you, sir?
Doing well. About yourself?
Hey, man, I guess I say welcome home. It started for you here some 15 years ago as a young kid, man, and now to come back as a professional athlete. Did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that you would be back speaking to the kids?
It's kind of crazy because you kind of dream things like these to happen, but when you're a kid, but you never really know if you'll accomplish them. And for me to be able to say that I accomplished them and to be able to come back to speak to these kids is an honor, but it's also a tribute to everyone that helped me get there. It helps the San Marcos Basketball Foundation and the basketball camp, but as well as my family and Tennessee and everyone that added to my life.
I tell you what, your parents did a tremendous job with you. Obviously, not only were you a great basketball player, but you were really good in the classroom as well.
Yes, it was the thing I valued most. Education was something that I wanted to put as my #1 thing because it'll drive you. It'll take you many places. If you can learn off the court, you can learn on the court. It's something I live my life by. And for me, it was always about separating myself from the classroom, and that means I can separate myself on the basketball court because it's easy when you're able to learn a difficult math equation to learn to play and learn how to stand a certain spot in the court and remember to get to that spot every single time. Versus if you're not able to do either one, it's going to be tough for you the rest of your life.
In addition to being a fantastic athlete and a great student, I understand you have some art. You're a musician.
Yes, so same way I've always thought about it. If I can challenge myself on the court and if I can engage my mind and learn things that not other people are learning, then maybe I can separate myself on the court. And my mom, my dad, and family always used to challenge me and say that if you can learn how to play an instrument, if you can learn how to read a book, if you can continue to engage your mind, then you'll never have that drop off.
What instrument?
It was piano, and I played many other ones growing up, but piano is the one I say that I truly can play.
Do you sing as well?
I used to. I don't sing as much anymore.
You know, your life is changing now. Obviously, you're a professional athlete, and you said you've already had opportunity to go up to Boston and maneuver the place and find out where you're going to stay, and of course, find out your routine you've set and spend some time with your head coach and general manager. What are they expecting of you coming in?
They're really just expecting me to be who I am and to not only be the best locker room presence that I can be, but also be a guy that can impact winning, whether that's through just screening, rebounding, and defending, or if that's through knocking down shots and making tough shots. So being the versatile player that I've shown that I can be, and being a guy that can make it easy for other guys and make it easy for guys that like Kemba and Gordon Hayward and Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and make it easier for guys like Enes Kanter to not have to move too much and me be the guy that's ripping and running and being that dog and being that guy that Marcus Smart is, but a bigger Marcus Smart.
When you talk about, of course, the transition that you have to go through, we talked earlier about, you taking care of your meals, you being on the road, have to manage your time, your rest. Obviously, you have to step up again. You have a great background, so it might not be that big of a deal to you, but your teammates, some of the other guys, are you ready to step in to try to be that leader that you were at Tennessee with Boston?
For sure. I'm a guy that will do whatever the coach asks and whatever they need me to do. And that's being a guy that can give advice and tutor other guys. Like, for example, Romeo Langford is a younger guy. He's a guy that's 18, 19 years old, and he's a freshman in college. And now he's going to be a rookie in the league at that young age and living on his own. And sometimes that can be difficult of a transition. So whatever I can do to make other guys' lives easier, that's what I hope to do.
Let's regress a little bit. And I know that this is the summertime. This is a camp. This is a San Mark basketball camp. And, we encourage all the parents out there to make sure that their kids are, get into camp, whether no matter what sport it is, because the only way you can get better is to go and, of course, put in the work, get the reps. How important were camps of this magnitude for you?
They were important just because it allows you not only to make relationships that will last a lifetime, but it allows you to not only get those reps and get in a position like not many kids get to go into a gym every single day. They sometimes have to shoot in the park. Sometimes they only have a hoop to shoot on. So being able to get these extra reps and learn from guys who have done it before is huge. So a guy like Mike Jones, who I didn't really appreciate back in the day, but he's a guy that challenged me and wasn't going to sugarcoat anything. And I look back and I'm just like, I thank him for it.
When you sit alone and you think about it, and I know your mom and dad did a great job, but the opportunity that Sam Mitchell and Mark Upshaw provided with this camp, what are your thoughts?
I think that they just put us in a great position not only to be better on the court, but to be better in life and to learn things that many kids don't get at a younger age. So this camp establishes great principles and a great foundation for kids to grow and to add to. So I'm really thankful and I'm really appreciative of how they engaged in my life.
Lastly, what we like to do on the Sports Visions television show is there's a lot of young kids out there, there's a lot of young coaches, there's a lot of young people out there that aspire to do what you've done. Speak to them, speak some words of encouragement.
The best words of encouragement I can give are just to be who you are, to understand who you are, and to challenge yourself, because everyone wants to have an easy route. Everyone wants to have the easy road, but taking the hard road allows you not only to better yourself in your mind, but to better yourself and be prepared for the adverse things that will affect you in life.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Grant Williams. We'll be right back after these messages.
Elevate the way you celebrate at Sky Zone. Have a party unlike any other. More laughs, more freedom, more action. This day belongs to you. It's your party, your way. Only at Sky Zone. Visit us online today. We'll take care of the rest.
And welcome back to Sports Vision. I'm joined by Tony Barnhart, SEC Network's college football analyst. And Tony, it's good to see you again. So I know it's football season.
Partner, we're still here. How about that?
That's a good thing.
We're still here.
Now this is your, what, how many years?
33rd.
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 Wow, that's
started
big.
when I was a small child.
So. Oh, watch out. All right, let's get right down to it. You know, every year we got to ask you these same questions, but you always get a pretty good spin on it. So tell me on some of the storylines in the SEC is going to be this year.
Well, I think obviously the number one storyline is, can anybody unseat Alabama and Georgia? When we get to the end of this event, The media is going to pick Alabama to win the West and Georgia to win the East, just like they did last year. And can anybody unseat? So that, to me, that's number one. Number two, we've got this is, I think, the year of the quarterback in the SEC. We've got 9 quarterbacks here at SEC Media Days. That's a large number. And I think we're going to get incredible quarterback play. And I think after that is we have all 14 head coaches are back at this event from last year. That's very unusual. Will we stand here a year from now and will we be able to say the same thing?
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, let's stay right there. Who's on the hot seat then? What coaches are on the hot seat?
Well, I think you start with a situation at Auburn in a sense that I think Auburn's going to have a really good football team if they get good quarterback play out of the two. They got a freshman and a redshirt freshman, and if their offensive line gets better. But listen, they're way overscheduled. I mean, they're playing. You know, they're playing Oregon. They're playing everybody in the SEC West, and if you're Auburn, who would you not want to play in the SEC East as your crossover games? Georgia and Florida. Well, guess what? They play them both. And so I just think Auburn is a good team that's way overscheduled. 7-5, 8-4 to me at best.
You know, Tony, you've been around a long time in the SEC football. Talk to me a little bit about and give me your take on this transfer portal.
Well, first of all, it's here to stay. So we can all fuss about it and complain about it all you want to, but it's not going anywhere. The players needed more freedom than they had, and sometimes you got to know what to do with that freedom because sometimes you don't handle it well. And what breaks my heart is there are guys who are still in that transfer portal who haven't found a place to land, and that is very discouraging. But I think the coaches are going to have to learn how to manage it. I think the NCAA's got to do a much better job of deciding who gets a waiver to play right away and who doesn't get a waiver to play right away. And so I think there's still a lot of work to do. It wasn't handled well in the beginning, but it is here to stay. And if you're a coach, you got to monitor that thing every day because a lot of people are going to be getting their backup quarterbacks out of that transfer portal.
You said earlier that you and the media, we probably are going to vote that Georgia and Alabama will play in the SEC championship game. Do you really think Georgia can pull it off this year?
I do. I think Georgia's got a really good football team. Obviously, there was obviously they don't have a lot of experience at wide receiver, but I think that's a position you can get away with playing young players if they're talented. And I think Georgia does have a bunch of talent because you got a veteran offensive line that's really good. You got a veteran quarterback that's really good. You got DeAndre Swift, who's one of the best 2 or 3 running backs in the country. And I think the defense is gonna get better. And so, look, it all comes down to a handful of plays and a handful of games. Do you beat Notre Dame at home? Do you take care of Auburn on the road? Because we know that game, strange things happen. And if you get to Atlanta and you get there undefeated, you know who's going to be on the other side. And can you find a way to beat them? Because like 53 out of the last 60 or 120 minutes they played, they've led all or controlled the game all but about 9 minutes, but they couldn't close the deal. Can they? If you knock on the door enough times, will the door finally open? Will you finally kick it down? And I think this Georgia team is a team that can do that.
Okay, now let's get down to the national championship. Give me your top 5 that'll be in the playoffs this year.
Well, I do it by conferences. All right, I think if Georgia and Alabama are both undefeated if they play in Atlanta and they're both undefeated, if it's a good game, I think both teams have a chance to get in. Obviously, Clemson is going from the ACC. The Big Ten, I believe, is going to be Michigan. The Big 12 is going to be Oklahoma. And I think the Pac-12 is going to probably be Oregon. I don't think the Pac-12 gets in. I think what it will come down to will be, for the 4th spot, will it be Oklahoma, the Big 12 champion, or will it be a second team from the SEC? And I think it's all about how the final records shake out. But I think that some combination of those teams will be your final 4.
All right, SEC Network's college football analyst Tony Barnhart. We'll be right back in a moment.
Hello, everybody. I'm DJ Jones. You might know me from my athletic career at Carver High School at the University of Georgia or my sports broadcasting career. I know a lot of people But when it comes to an attorney I trust, I call Forrest B. Johnson.
I'm Forrest Johnson of Forrest B. Johnson and Associates. And I want to let you know how proud we are to be a part of your community, a part of the Columbus community and the Phoenix, Alabama community. Consider us first. When you or any member of your family has been involved in an automobile accident, remember, car wreck, get a check.
Call now, 706-223-5380.
Honey, what are you doing?
Watching a cow.
Oh, what's it doing?
Impressions.
Power up your morning with a new 300-calorie egg white grill. Only at Chick-fil-A.
People know Aflac, but not what they do. So we're answering their questions.
Aflac is auto insurance, right?
No.
Is it homeowners insurance?
No.
Is it duck insurance?
Nope.
Do they pay me money directly when I get sick or injured?
Yeah. Aflac. You got it. You know Aflac.
Boom.
Get help with expenses health insurance doesn't cover. Get to know us at aflac.com.
Welcome back to Sports Vision, Dale. We had an opportunity to talk about SEC Media Days part 1 last week. We got to do part 2 this week because there's some other teams. And again, you talk about the 14 teams and the 14 coaches that all came back. That's a little unusual in the SEC, but we got some teams that with some real firepower.
They got some firepower, DJ, and I think really one of the biggest things about the SEC is going to be the other teams. You know, when the other teams are Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher, he's got a squad down there, and I think really, 2 games, 3 games last year, DJ, if they can pull those games up, they're right there in the mix. I think if they can get close to 10-2, DJ, Texas A&M is going to be a tough team, and you can't leave out Dan Mullen and the Florida Gators, DJ. Something is brewing, man, and I'm really, when you start looking at all the other teams outside of the Georgia and the Alabama, you got to throw LSU in there, man. Ed Orgeron, he's got players galore. They're going to have defense. They got good skill people. The quarterback piece, the Joe Barrow piece, can he deliver this year? Those are all the storylines and the thing that kind of jumped out at me. The other teams, and I'm really with a little luck, Kelly Bryant up at Missouri, if he plays anything decently, Missouri's going to have a say about some things, too.
You named half of the 9 quarterbacks that actually were in Birmingham. And again, those quarterbacks are the difference makers. They're game changers. And Kelly, of course, going over to Missouri, we know he left Clemson, and he actually used the red shirt to his advantage. He left after the 4th game, was able to maintain his eligibility. But looking forward to seeing how Kelly Bryant produces with the Mizzou Tigers. I know that Kelly Mond with Texas A&M, he's another veteran quarterback who's outstanding. And, of course, with another year under his belt and another year under Jimbo Fisher's offensive system, we're going to see the best of him as well.
I think really you're going to see the best of these guys. And really, like you said, out of the 14 teams in the SEC, everybody has a good quarterback. From the Felipe Franks, to you got a lot of quarterbacks, and I think really that's going to be one of the reasons the SEC is going to be real tough too.
You mentioned Felipe Franks, and of course the Florida Gators matched that up with Dan Mullen. We know how he produces or how he develops quarterbacks. So you know what, the Gators, man, they are not one to look over because again, with the development and an extra year, this is just year 2. Dan Mullen just last season was his first season in Gainesville, and they were making noise. So we know after another successful offseason, of course, a successful camp, big things are going to come out of the Gators.
Big things are going to come out of the Gators, DJ. And, really, I think South Carolina is going to be just smothered with just having a tough schedule, probably the toughest schedule in the whole country. It's going to be hard for them, to pull off some things. But they got an opportunity. Anytime you have a hard schedule, if you pull off a couple of upsets, boom, you can skyrocket into that top 25.
We almost championed South Carolina, another game-changing quarterback, Jake Bentley from right over here in Opelika. You know what? He's a football player. He's the son of a football coach. So he has it physically. He definitely has a high football IQ, and now he has several years of running that offense. So expect big things out of him as well.
And, again, we go back to the quarterbacks, DJ. That's what makes a tough conference. The SEC West, and everybody knows about that in the country, that it is the toughest conference in college football. But then when you have good quarterback play, DJ, good ball managers, you got a chance. And I think really that's one of the biggest things that are going to happen in the SEC. Look out for them. I got at least 5 teams in the top 10 in the coming out of the SEC.
All right, we're going to take a short break. This is Sports Visions.
Okay, done.
At Moe's, we've always been real Southwest. And we're proud of it. It's in our name after all. And we've always been real people, using real Southwest flavors, making real Southwest eats. And we've always built every burrito right on the line, fresh, just for you. Real, fresh Southwest. Welcome to Moe's.
Welcome back to Sports Visions. Joining me right now is George Washington Carver Tigers head football coach Corey Joyner, literally right off the field. Coach, how's it going, man?
It's going great. We just got finished practicing, just putting in some plays and getting ready for the season.
Well, we're literally days away from, of course, you guys going at it, man. And obviously this is an exciting time of the year for you. But what are you most excited and looking forward to?
We had a lot of people returning that played last year. We tried to build depth and trying to get the ninth graders in, get them acclimated to what we're trying to do here. And we look for a great season.
Coach, you've had a tremendous offseason. Are you impressed with what you were able to accomplish?
And when a coach comes in and tell you that Kyrie McCoy have gotten faster, then you got to be doing something right. So we're looking forward to this year. A lot of our guys have gotten bigger, faster, and stronger. We built some depth in some areas that we needed to build depth. And I'm excited about our new quarterback that's coming up, DJ Riles.
Coach, talk a little bit about this offseason training this summer. Obviously, it's been really hot. You have to be careful, make sure your players stay hydrated. But talk about that process of getting your guys ready to play.
We try to put them in situations where we try to break them. A situation where they're gonna exert a lot of energy because we're trying to win the fourth quarter. We always try to say now we have turned our philosophy to winning the last 4 minutes of each quarter, and that's very important to us. And it all starts with conditioning. It all starts with conditioning not only of the body but also the conditioning of the mind.
You already started off this offseason by winning a championship in the 7-on-7. Talk about that experience.
Well, we traveled to several 7-on-7 besides this one. We also went to Georgia, Kennesaw, and we also went to Auburn and did very good at all of them. And so this one that we had in Muskogee County, we went 7-0. The offense didn't get stopped one time, and that was very impressive. So the defense did their job as well.
Coach, talk to me about some of your defensive superlatives.
One of them, Keandre Harper, he's wanted by all the Ivy League schools, which is something new around this area. He's received offers from also Army and also Navy and also Air Force, and he got Harvard and also Princeton. So that's big for anybody. We got a 4.2 GPA. We got Stretch Cradle, Ja'Kias Cradle. He's wanted by Tennessee, South Carolina, and also Central Florida. So we got some big-time prospects coming up, and we look for them to do some great things for us.
Talk about the other side of the ball on defense, some of those players.
We still, like I said, we got Cradle on offense. We got Cradle and got McCoy, and the new quarterback that's going to be calling everything is DJ Riles. He played behind Jalen last year and learned a whole lot, and he's been doing a tremendous job. He's more of a runner than our quarterback last year. So I look for our offense doing some big things. We're going to be very explosive with also DeQuavius Davison. He's one of our slot receivers. He's going to be a return guy. So we're looking for some big things out of this offense.
In addition to the X's and O's, man, you have to have promotions and marketing mentality because obviously you got to get everybody, the alumni, excited about supporting the football team. You have just an ingenious way of you're going to do it with the alumni weekend coming up in a few weeks.
Yeah, well, that's something I started in Albany, Georgia. I started an alumni weekend during the time of football season. We invite alumni to come out and enjoy a football game and then come back that Saturday morning and also enjoy an old school pet rally. Everybody want to come out and enjoy that. And that's going to be August 31st here in our gym at 10 a.m. And then we'll come back that Sunday morning and have a church service at 9 a.m., which one of our alumni will run the word that day. And it's going to be an awesome weekend. And it got to be an awesome weekend because, first of all, Friday you're going to play Spencer, which is the Heritage Bowl. So we're looking forward to that. We invite all alumni from Carver to come on out and join us on that day. That'll be August 31st, 10 a.m. here, for that pet rally. And then we'll come back Sunday morning at 9 a.m. here. And we also have a meet and greet. I forgot about that. That night, that Saturday night on August 31st at 7 o'clock at the Marriott downtown.
Coach, I know we talk about the Carver Spencer game and the Heritage Bowl. Everybody's excited about it, but you actually have a game before that, a week before that. You open up with Harris County.
One of our tough opponents, and I think if you watch film, Harris County should have beat us last year. They muffed a couple of punts, and then they had some bad things on offense that put them in bad predicaments, and we was able to capitalize. But I think they're going to be one of our toughest opponents.
Coach, I can't let you go without talking about your staff, your coaching staff.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big part of what you do, a big part of who the Tigers are. Talk to us about your staff.
Well, I have my brother, Ewell Joyner, who's the offense coordinator, and also Roscoe Bird, our offensive line coach, and Johnny Gardner, who stayed over from the old staff as our receiver coach, and Coach Oso, who's a running back coach, and he's also an alumni here as well. On the other side of the ball on defense, we have our coach, Coach Nazin, who is our defensive back coach, and also Coach Marshall, who's our defense coordinator, also linebacker coach. So we got a great staff, and also Coach Harvey, who stayed over from the other staff, who also is an alumni as well of Carver High School. So we got a great staff. They work good together, and they prepare our guys to be in the best condition they can be.
Lastly, Coach, why don't you tell all those folks out there that are watching now why they should come watch the Tigers play?
We're going to be exciting. We're going to do things the right way. We play with integrity. We play with good sportsmanship, and we look for you guys to come out and support us. We always suggest that any school in Columbus, buy your ticket from the school, no matter if it's Carver, Columbus, Shaw, because that money goes right back to the school, and the athletic department really, really needs it.
We appreciate you, Coach.
Thank you, sir.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Follow Sports Visions Radio on all social media platforms. On Facebook, we're at Sports Visions TV Show. On Instagram, we're at Sports Visions TV. And on Twitter, it's Sports Visions US. Remember to use the hashtag Sports Visions Radio to keep us in chime with what you think.
Smoke in the sky and fire in the air. Desire burns between them. Lead your way, sing your song. Moving every day, going further on.
No matter who you cheer for, we're all fans. Great tailgates start at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price every day.
Welcome back to Sports Visions. We're proud to have one of the Bi-City greats. Of course, back in the day, these kids don't know us, Coach. But anyway,
they don't know us.
Without further ado, the running back coach and assistant head football coach of LSU, Mr. Tommy Keyman Robinson. Welcome to Sports Visions.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
It's always a pleasure, man. I guess the last time we sat down was a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
We were actually down on the banks of the Chattahoochee there at the Courtyard Marriott. And you know what, man, 30 years you got in this game, over 30 years.
Over 30
But you've been coaching on the collegiate level, the professional level, and you started out on the high school level. Why don't we go back in time and let's bring everybody up to speed as to that process or that particular.
Oh, yeah. I started on the high school level. When I got done playing football, I knew I wanted to coach, and had an opportunity to go down to Pensacola, Florida. Started out there coaching. Had a chance at my first game was at Woodham High School. Coached first game, you play at Escambia High School. They got a little running back named Emmett Smith. So I had a chance to start out down there. Then the very next year I came here to Central. And that's when things started for me. Spent 3.5 years here at Central, and wanted to go to the college level. And I had an opportunity to go down to Troy, my alma mater, and be back then it was called restricted earnings coach. And went to University of Arkansas and as a graduate assistant, and things just started falling in place from there. Had a couple of stints at some school, went on to have opportunity coaching the professional ranks for a couple of teams, and kind of back and forth. So now I'm here at LSU and sitting here with you, man, now.
Yeah, man, I tell you, man, it's been a tremendous journey since you were a Red Devil, of course, outstanding player there, as well as Troy. But, this is the question that I have. Obviously back in our day, obviously we old school. The millennial athlete today is a lot different than when we coached it or were played. But how do you coach? What's the difference? What's the biggest difference you now coaching on this level and how we grew up?
Well, when we came up, you with Coach Davis and me with Coach Trey, whatever the coaches said, that was the gospel. That was it. And coaches can coach as hard as they wanted to, and kids would just keep their head down and didn't say anything, just went out and worked harder now. But now it has changed, with all the social media and all the build-up and all the hype that these kids get now, they become a little entitled, if you will. So when we get them on campus, we have to go through what we call a de-recruiting process. We got to get them back down to earth. Because when they come in, they are so high, their build-up is so great. So we got to bring them back down to earth and get them back to the point, get them cultivated to the point we can coach them like Coach Wallace Davis coached you, and Coach Wayne Trey, coached me, and get them back to that point. But it's a process, and believe it or not, the parents tried to get a lot more involved now than they ever did before.
Coach, in addition to that particular situation, when you talk about all of these agencies and these ratings and these systems and these stars, and again, I guess that's part of the reason why they come on campus feeling so entitled when you're a 5-star kid, or you're in the top 50, or you're in the top 10, or whatever it is that they have. The thing about it is that recruiting is your lifeline. That's your blood. Right. That's what college football is all about. And everything. If you don't get the kids to play, because obviously that's what obviously keeps your jobs.
Right.
My thing is, how in the world do you go into the homes of parents? And I know you have to do this a lot, but if you got a kid on campus that's already, maybe he's not, an upperclassman yet, but he's playing and he's doing well, and then you got to go in and get the next 5-star, the same position. Right. How in the world do you do that? I know that some coaches has done it well. Obviously, Nick Saban has done it for a long time, and how do you approach that?
Well, now it's no longer a 4-year deal. It's more when you get an athlete like that, it's going to probably be a 3-year process. So the one thing you have to do, the one thing that's important to me is I gotta have this kid as close to graduating from college as possible within 3 years. And because the good ones are probably going to stay 3. They're 3 and done. So when you go in that home, you tell, well, this kid's going to be here. You recruited 2 5-star left. Well, that kid's going to be here for 3 years. And when you get there, he has 2 years left. And so, the process continues. But, one of the things you got to let the parents know. The parents have to know that you had a kid's best interest at heart, and you're going to give that kid a chance to graduate or come as close as possible within 3 years. And there's a lot of other pitches that you use, but you're absolutely right now because of all these organizations, all these recruiting companies, it's blown recruiting up so much right now, and we have to deflate all of that when we go into those homes.
Another part of our old school recruiting is that, once upon a time, the coach would come into the area of a prospective prospect, and he might get in touch with some letterman or some of the boosters in the area. Right now, that game has changed. You guys get in and out, and nobody even know you're in town.
Well, you can't. You got to be so careful with that. I know, you being at coming from University of Georgia, and here in Phoenix City, Columbus area is it's tough because there's a lot of great players in this area, in the Bi-City area. But you got to be very, very careful with it, and you just got that part you have to stay away from because the NCAA is really coming down hard on us and trying to make everything an equal playing field, if you will. So, some schools, boosters are stronger than others, but they're trying so hard to make it equal, so you got to stay away from that stuff.
Coach, I know another thing that has changed is the money, finance as far as the coaches. You got defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators making over $1 million now, and I know when you started out way back when, it was nowhere near that. The head coach didn't make that kind of money.
I'll tell you what, the first full-time job that I got in college, I made $20,000 at Utah State, and they gave me a raise, $5,000. I made $25,000. I was like, oh man, I'm doing good here. And I remember being at the University of Arkansas. I was a graduate assistant, and I was working with a guy named Houston Nutt.
I remember.
And Coach Nutt was making $48,000 at that time.
Wow.
I said, boy, if I can ever get to that, if I can ever get to the point where I can make $48,000. But yeah, it has changed. Everything has changed. They're paying coaches. They're paying coaches a healthy salary, and with that comes expectation. So you're expected to do the job. There's a lot of hours involved. It's a lot of stress on your families. You got to have a wife that, if you're married, that understands. And there are times when you sometimes you sacrifice some time with your kids, and all that comes into play. So you have to ask yourself, is this what I want to do? Because there's going to be a lot of time involved. They compensate you, but still there is a quality of life that you still try to have, along with all the time and effort that goes into being a college coach.
You coached in the NFL as well as you're at LSU now. What's the biggest difference? You hear a lot of different things, but you've been there, you've done that. What's the biggest difference between college and professional?
Recruiting.
Okay.
No bar. Recruiting, because football is football. We run the same plays. We teach the same thing. I don't coach running backs any different in college than I did in the National Football League. But recruiting, we can go out and we can go draft a kid in the NFL. We can, evaluate a kid. Evaluation is still the same. Evaluate a kid and say, hey, look, we need to take this kid in the first round, this kid the second round, what have you. But and we get it done. If we don't get that kid, we get the next kid. And we can do that over the course of a weekend. But in college, recruiting is 365 days a year. It never stops. It never ends. And recruiting has become so intense now that if you're not looking at 10th graders, you're almost behind in the game. If you don't know what's going on, especially a kid going into his junior season, you got to know. So it never stops, and it's so intense, and it's very, very, very competitive. So you got to keep finding that little edge.
Coach, you mentioned earlier that social media is a big part of this millennial class and these kids in recruiting. Obviously, I see where you guys have to, you have to Instagram and text and. Oh yeah. And I mean, how do you guys manage all of that?
It's tough. It's hard because you have to manage your social media, the aspect of it, because that's where the kids are. The phone conversations are still still good, but the kids would rather text than talk. And like most young kids nowadays, that's how they are. But so the social media and communicating with those kids is totally different than it was when we was coming along. So that's a huge part of it, and it's new to me because I'm not a big social media guy, but that's part of it.
Coach, lastly, I want to ask you again, obviously these people that are watching this show right now, they have no idea. You mentioned recruiting is 365 days of the year, so it's just everything about college football. Give them an idea of what your schedule is like from the start to the finish. I mean, you got a couple of weeks and you're here in town now because this is a short period of time that you have to relax with your family.
The NCAA gave us this time. But let me explain that to you. Okay, when we'll go back here and we'll get started here in July, end of July. And when that period starts, we're going into our season. Mm-hmm. The season is every day, is 7 days a week. And you're preparing to win games. We got to line up, and we're in the SEC West, which every game is a high-level competition game. Those days are probably anywhere from 15, sometime maybe 18-hour days. Okay, and then you go through the season. Hopefully, we want to play for a national title, which is in January. If not, then you want to play at a New Year's Six Bowl. Then you'll go through that. So from July to January, it's 7 days a week. And then after that, recruiting, really kicks in. In the midst of all that, you got signing day in December, and then you got another signing day coming in February. And after February, it starts all over again. It starts your junior days, and then you go right into spring football. So it never stops. And spring football spilled into spring recruiting. And then now we can have official visits during the spring. So it's just you're juggling a lot of balls in all those situations. You got spring football going on, you got spring recruiting, and you got official visits at the same time. So you're juggling a lot. And then when spring recruiting is over, camp season starts. Now we did 10 camps last year.
Wow.
So it just never stops.
Well, Coach, we certainly appreciate that you were able to fit us
Appreciate
in here,
you
man.
having
And
me, man.
again, that was a lot of good information. I know that the community would be really appreciative of all that information. We'll take a short break. This is Sports Visions.
Kingdom Plug presents HBCU Culture Weekend and the Battle of the Bands at Serene Stadium in Greenville, South Carolina. The Fan Fest begins Friday, August 23rd, featuring the hottest HBCU step show and live concert with Jacqueline Carr and special guest Bernard Williams. Saturday, August 24th, the Fan Fest continues with the block party and college and career fair, followed by the main event, the HBCU Culture Battle of the Bands, featuring South Carolina State, Benedict College, Fort Valley State, Alabama State, Talladega College, and North Carolina A&T. Showtimes at 6:30 p.m. For $20 early bird tickets and hotel info, go to hbcuculture.com. Let's do it for the culture.
Smoke in the sky and fire in the air. Desire burns between them. Lead your way, sing your song. Moving every day, going further on.
No matter who you cheer for, we're all fans. Great tailgates start at Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price every day.
Follow Sports Visions Radio on all social media platforms. On Facebook, we're at Sports Visions TV Show. On Instagram, we're at Sports Visions TV. And on Twitter, it's Sports Visions US. Remember to use the hashtag Sports Visions Radio to keep us in chime with what you think.
And we'd like to thank you all for watching the Sports Vision TV show. From DJ and I, we just thank you and appreciate all the well wishes that we've gotten from this show. We'll be coming on this Thursday from 8 to 9 o'clock, on Fridays from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m., and on Saturday morning from 8 to 9 p.m. And don't forget to tune in to the 92.1 FM for our radio show on Mondays and Thursdays from 4 to 6. Thank you for all you do, and we'll see you next week.